this is real now. And if you're not, as a marketer, a traditional marketer, maybe you've spent the last 15 years in, mid-sized companies and marketing functions, and you've always had this tension with sales. For the first time, you can be the author of fixing that. I'm thinking of one customer that I'm particularly engaged with right now, but they use Zoho to track their actual customer engagements. So consider it like account management and service delivery functions. They use Dynamics to manage their outbound sales force very poorly.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Demand Decoded. Dan here as usual, and we have a surprise guest, I suppose, in the podcast studio, right? Josh has been on the podcast a few times now. He's flown out over the ocean just to come and film this podcast. I mean, not really, but great to have you in the studio.
Great
with
to
us.
be in the UK.
It is. It's really nice to do podcasts in person. Anyway.
It is. Yeah.
Whilst it's great to capture the content online, actually having so many conversations in person, you just can't truly beat that. And especially, even for content creation, it does just make things a bit more special.
This past week has flown by, but yeah, I love being here.
Yeah, we love you here. So yeah, great to have Josh on. By the way, if you haven't listened to any of our other episodes with Josh, maybe we can link them in the description. They've been some of our most popular episodes up until now, and there's some real great thinking there that we get from Josh in terms of how we can elevate ourselves as marketers to really think from a holistic business perspective at the impact we're having. And that kind of comes into our topic today, really, which is all about this kind of tension that's been here forever between marketing and sales. But we actually want to cover how marketing can truly be the hero of sales. And I think we're getting into a point in time now where this has become more important and more prevalent than ever, and marketers can really have a fantastic role going forwards that make them the hero of their marketing organization, but also the sales org as well.
Yeah, I think it's not just a topic that is inspirational. It's for the first time actionable.
Yeah.
Because of what's happening in the market and in the tech stacks that we use and in the techniques and use of AI, this is real now. And if you're not, as a marketer, a traditional marketer, maybe you've spent the last 15 years in mid-sized companies and marketing functions, and you've always had this tension with sales. For the first time, you can be the author of fixing that. And when you do, you become the hero.
Yeah, not just of sales either.
No, the company.
Absolutely, the company, and we've never been more enabled to be able to go and do that. From a technology perspective as well, that enables us to go and do that. Marketing's role, when you think about it now, and some of the things we're going to dive through here, can just be transformational for the business.
Yep.
Before we get into the podcast today, here's a quick word from our sponsors, HubSpot. Think about listening to this podcast right now. You're probably multitasking and catching 70, maybe 80% of it. Now flip that and imagine only catching 20%. That'd be pretty crazy, right? Yet most businesses only use 20% of their data. All the important details in call logs, emails, and chats just left floating in digital space. HubSpot gives you access to those insights to help your business grow. Because when you know more, you grow more. Visit HubSpot.com to get the full picture today. All right, so I think we should talk a little bit first about why these tensions have occurred for so long, this old model between marketing and sales and the structure that's in place and the things that have happened between those two functions have caused this big disconnect and the friction between the two. And I think we're going to do some role playing soon, but do you want to just talk a little bit about the old model, the frictions, and why that's happened?
Well, I mean, in any relationship where there's two different functions, each very focused on their own outcomes.
Yeah.
It's hard for the other to, for one to put on the shoes of the other if they haven't actually walked in those shoes, right? And so that fundamentally that's the problem. But rather than talk about it at a high level, let's just call it out. Let's show it, right? So I'll play sales, you play marketing,
Yeah. Yeah,
and I'll start because sales would always start.
true.
Why the hell do I keep getting all of these leads from marketing that don't have anything to do with buyer intent, that don't have anything to do with actionable salesmanship? They're just junk.
Hang on a minute, Josh, right? Don't you realize these leads we've been targeting, they've downloaded some of our content, they've joined our webinar, we've got their contact details, they've shown interest in our topic. Can't you just go and call them? Can't you just go and sell to them straight away?
Yeah, you mean when I'm on this plane to go to Chicago, and then on this plane to come to the UK, and then I'm visiting these people that I met at an event. I'm sourcing my own pipeline. I don't have time to be responding to these quote unquote leads that you say you have. Like, how am I supposed to do that when I'm on the road 75% of my time?
Well, look, the business wants leads from us. The sales team supposedly wants leads from us. I've given you these leads. You need to follow up with them. It's something like that, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a just a natural underappreciation of sales, on how hard it is to, from zero to identify people who are in a buying process or open to a buying process,
Yeah.
and convincing them that they should be, and then getting them warmed up and ready for a sales conversation. And there's a failure in a lot of marketing organizations to understand the life of a salesperson, the urgency of a salesperson. Even in the silly example that we just used, even if you're not using an outbound sales force and you have an in-house sales force that doesn't travel all the time, they still have quotas that they have to hit every month or every quarter, that defines not only do they make the income that they need to make to meet their obligations, but also to keep their jobs.
Yeah.
Right. And so, if it's human nature to focus my energy then on the things that I think are most likely to turn into actual convertible business, and that's what the company wants me to do. Developing relationships over time, starting with a lead that's downloaded a white paper, for example. We know that's going to take potentially a long period of time before they're ready to buy, and so that's not going to be my focus if I'm driven that way.
The issue that comes as well is when marketing is just throwing over all of these leads, hundreds, thousands of leads every single month, and they're all blended together. So you've got leads from white papers, you've got leads from events, you've got leads from webinars, you've got leads from partners, mixed in with then your high intent leads from the website, and there's no distinguish between the two of those. So sales are ignoring all of them.
Right.
When actually, there are some fantastic high intent leads there straight away that if sales knew that they were the ones that have raised their hand, they want to talk to them straight away, they are, 10x more likely to convert into pipeline than the other ones. Of course, they're going to follow those up. But
Right.
there's no distinguish a lot of the time between those two buckets as well. And that in itself then causes an even bigger disconnect between the two functions.
That's right. Yeah.
And I've seen that in practice, and I don't know how many times I've heard the phrase sales just aren't following up with our leads, but there needs to be a level of empathy within this as well. And I intentionally spent quite a lot of time with key salespeople in previous businesses just to understand, like you say, their life, what are they doing on a day-to-day basis? Why aren't they following up with these particular leads? Why are they working this lead that they met at some event 3 years ago that we've never heard of? And they're probably not even in the CRM. And, but when you understand their thought process, their mindset behind that, it's okay, they have a target to hit at the end of the month. They're on, a heavy commission plan, and they actually need that deal to land in order to pay for certain things in their life. It's all right, let's have some empathy here, understand what sales are truly targeted on as a function and how we can best support them. Let's stop throwing over the crap leads that are never going to convert and actually focus on the ones that are truly going to help them and ultimately the business succeed. But then, we get this is a top level mindset shift and measurement shift that needs to change, because then we get back into the realm of, well, marketing shouldn't be gold on just lead volume. It's not beneficial for
Right.
absolutely anybody. And
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, how we define success
Exactly.
needs to change. I think also what we expect, recognizing what our best salespeople do and don't do. I mean, every sales org I've ever run, every single one, the best salespeople are always the worst at updating CRM. So, it, do I as a marketing lead or as even a CRO, do I browbeat those salespeople, especially as a CRO? The people the salespeople that are actually hitting their numbers regularly, do I browbeat them into submission and end up making them spend more time on things that are not actually helpful to them, or do I find ways to automate and to make their lives easier,
Yeah.
while still getting the intelligence that I need to be able to run the business? And the latter, historically, the latter was very hard. Now, what we're seeing in the changing landscape of MarTech or sales tech or whatever you want to call it is rapidly improving, and that's exciting. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, funnily enough, I actually just wrote down systems, which brings us nicely onto that, because for so long there has been a disconnect between where marketing live and do their thing and where sales live and do their things, and that's caused these frustrations for sales to be doing more admin than they should, to combat the lack of connectivity in these systems, and marketing not having visibility of, like, I mean, this is a that
We
that
see
is a
it every
core
day,
issue.
right? How many of our clients, marketing clients, don't have visibility to
It's shocking.
to actual closed business because sales is running one CRM and they're running another. It's phenomenally, I'll say, foolish of the business owner, the business lead, to allow for that kind of environment. Just because you have, your salespeople have always used this system, or your marketing people have always used this system, to not create a foundational layer, even if you have to do some integration, although integration never works as well as just having one platform that's core, your core system across marketing and sales, which we would argue HubSpot should be that core for most, like I say, mid-size or B2B tech companies.
Yeah.
It's the best platform out there. But regardless, even if you're not using HubSpot, to allow those system silos to exist, just go to create worse people silos, because there's just a lack of transparency, lack of visibility.
Yeah, and just worse ROI on like all of your investments, because you can't
Right.
measure the effectiveness of anything.
Your human capital, frankly, like you're getting
Yeah.
you're getting worse ROI on your human capital, which is your most expensive outlay for most businesses, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm firmly of the opinion that marketing and sales should be not only led by a single member of the C-suite,
Yeah.
but I think they should also be fundamentally driven or organized in a way that they're using the same systems to be able to communicate together.
Having sat in positions where you're probably making the decision ultimately to invest in a core transformation, to implement a new system, rip out old ones, and ultimately like unify data in one place, like, what can our marketing listeners do in order to convince the C-suite, whoever it may be, to actually make this change and bring unified systems and data together? Because like, it is just a fundamental issue that so many of our listeners will be having.
Yeah. I'm thinking of one customer that I'm particularly engaged with right now, but they use Zoho to track their actual customer engagements. So consider it like account management and service delivery functions.
Yeah.
They use Dynamics to manage their outbound sales force very poorly, but they theoretically use it. Another sales group in their organization uses spreadsheets, and then marketing really doesn't have any kind of automation. They as they create leads, they push them into dynamics, but not in a very manual process. That sounds like a horror show. It also sounds like, well, it couldn't be worse than that. But we see companies that are in that, like sizable companies that
Yeah.
are in that kind of an environment all the time.
Yeah.
And so as a marketer or as a human being in this company who wants to argue to the CEO, to the board, hey, there needs to be, we need to take a really significant look at changing our data architecture and our system architecture to create connectivity. I would start with a list of all the questions that could be answered in real time. Like, as you know, how would you like to be in a position where you, Mr. CEO, could have this at your fingertips, this at your fingertips, this at your fingertips. You don't have it right now. How would you like that? Your salespeople will have this and this and this. And then if we do some of these other things that we can do, like various orchestrations and use of AI and so on, how would you like it if your salesperson, when they're in the middle of a call, would be in real time prompted to identify, 3 case studies that are helpful to that particular situation? How would you like it if your account management system was automatically identifying where you have potential risk of customer loss or potential opportunities for growth, and surfacing those directly to you without any human interaction, right? It would be approaching the C-suite, the CFO who has to pay for it all,
Yeah.
with those kinds of, this is what we can do, but we have to be willing to change how we do it and use some, a single platform across them as the foundation, but then also building in various elements of AI, orchestration, automation, so on. So, and we can talk about those in more detail if you like.
Yeah, we should. Like, there's going to be different things that different people care about as well, right? Because, like, the CFO is going to be interested in, oh, okay, so does that mean I can see, return on our investments better in this kind of way and that kind of way? The CEO might care about different things to the COO and, things like that. So
Right.
basically what you're saying is, think about the possibilities of what this gives you access to, present those back.
Yeah,
And see the appetite.
I would categorize them as visibility, predictability, like visibility of what's happening now, predictability of what's happening in the future, and speed or efficiency. If I can do all these things, I can make your sales force twice as efficient, which means you need half the salespeople to accomplish your revenue goals, which means you're getting more utilization out of every dollar of labor.
Yeah.
Which is great for the business. It's probably great for the salesperson because you can afford to pay that salesperson more, and allows the business to be in a greater control of their destiny.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's dive into that a little bit deeper.
Okay,
I think.
let's do it.
Growth engineering is a term that I've heard you use a lot. It's not a new term by any means. It's a term that I've seen like rising in popularity recently, and I think for good reason. And this is probably the first time we're actually going to talk about it in more detail on this podcast. But growth engineering is this kind of like new shift, is the way that I see it. Be interested to get your take on this. But the new shift that fundamentally changes the way that marketing operates in the business. Yeah. And it's more than just our day-to-day traditional marketing activity. It's actually like how we orchestrate systems and this go-to-market machine across the entire business.
Yeah, so I started using growth engineering over 10 years ago.
Okay, it's that old.
And it was for me.
Yeah.
And back then, for me, it was, this is how I approach leading growth in a company. And it was really driven around, very simplistic, but really driven around being able to measure stages and conversion rates from lead through like through the traditional bow tie,
Yeah.
right? From first touch all the way through awareness and ultimately conversion, but then customer delivery and growth. And so you see your like the traditional bow tie
Yeah.
model, and being able to know both timelines and conversion rates, and being able to track those over time to see that they're that we're improving, and and then being able to apply trials or tests to each of those individual elements to see what can we do to increase them, to optimize them, and get the best result for the company. That's how it started, and I think at the even today at its basest, that is still the foundation of it.
Yeah.
But the technology that's now possible to do a lot of those things in a so much faster, so much more accurate, so much more integrated is remarkable. So I think back then it was a term that I used candidly to get jobs. Like it was how I described my approach in interviews with PE firms. But it was also but it was real. But now it's something that we can actually apply, not just executive design to, but also we can turn it into an actual job description of people who are, who were probably RevOps, and a combination of marketing and RevOps skill sets historically are now becoming growth engineers. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think of this, equation that kind of puts together roles in a growth engineer? So you got like marketing plus RevOps plus data science plus automation. Gives you this growth engineer. And I'm asking the questions that the marketers would answer here, right? Which is, why marketing in this role? Because I think a lot of people would think, well, hang on, that goes outside of marketing's wheelhouse and what we can do when it comes to growth engineering the entire business. Why does it fall under marketing?
I think there's a couple of reasons why it should fall under, well, so that begs the question, does marketing stay marketing, right? We're using the term marketing very assumptively.
Yep.
But long term, does marketing become growth enablement, which is what, outside of pure brand and like B2C type applications, but in B2B, marketing should be about growth enablement. But do you stop using that term even? I know that's terribly frightening for a marketing agency to hear.
Yeah, I'm terrified. Yeah.
But it comes with it all sorts of historical assumptions, right?
Yeah.
That may not exist in the future. But breaking that down to answer your question, sorry, I got run down a rabbit hole. Very esoteric. So in that future growth engineering mindset, using or including marketing in that is the context. So I can learn automation. I can be a creator of orchestrated events, but if I don't have the background in why, and marketing will supply the why, I won't do as good of a job.
Yeah.
So I think the best people are the technically minded marketers who see the market, see the understanding of what a high intent lead is, the understanding of the buyer journey, and then says, I can do this better with tools that I have at my disposal.
Yeah. Yeah, the way I see this is I've already seen a shift in the way that marketing should operate in terms of pipeline creation. Like that should be their role. But when you think about the other components that actually go into generating like pipeline full circle, you've got like expansion within that as well. Like how does then expansion feed new pipeline and things like that? Like they all actually connect, and marketing has an impact on all of that. Like it is truly full cycle. So marketing isn't just, this slice of the pie at the start of the buyer journey. Actually, it goes through everything. And then that's where you can kind of make a case for actually marketing are in the best position out of the entire organization to run this growth engineering model, like throughout everything. They see everything, they touch everything, and they can impact it all.
We've started talking about the concept of buyer intelligence, because your buyers are new customers, new logos. Your buyers are existing customers who are willing to do more. But it's the buyer that we care, like at the C-suite. It's truly the buyer, somebody who's willing to part with their pounds or dollars or yen to provide us with the revenue that we need to be able to continue to grow our company. And so buyers matter more than anybody else, really, right? And so how does marketing become the central hub of buyer intelligence that then empowers buyer conversion at an optimized level?
Here's a quick story from us at Blend and our customer, Daytel. Daytel were launching a completely new product in a brand new market with a different type of buyer. To do this effectively, they knew they needed to rebrand, overhaul their website, and rethink their go-to-market strategy. We partnered with them to achieve this, transforming their brand, rebuilding the site with their new identity, and working with them long-term to shift from lead generation to demand generation. The impact? 35% more revenue, 63% more profit, and 800% ROI from marketing. And to top it off, a HubSpot Impact Award to recognize the success that we had together. This is what happens when you have a partner who has strategic, creative, and technical expertise all working together. If you're in a similar place and want to discuss how we can help your business grow, just head over to blendb2b.com. If you're enjoying this show, let me recommend another one from the HubSpot Podcast Network that I personally never miss. Nudge, hosted by Phil Agnew. What I love about Nudge is that it's all about the psychology and science behind human behavior. What makes us take action, form habits, or say yes. And then it shows how those same principles shape great marketing and sales. In one episode, Phil looks at how just 3 words in a text message boosted vaccination rates and may have saved hundreds of lives. That's the endowment effect at work, a tiny psychological nudge creating a huge outcome. Every episode of Nudge is about 20 minutes, fast-paced, no fluff, and packed with ideas you can actually use. Check it out. Nudge is available wherever you get your podcast.
When it comes to buyer intelligence, there's so much more to it than just like feeding the marketing lens on those things. And you've actually kind of brought this to my attention recently, more so, where when we think about buyer research and personas and things like that, that's a marketing thing. Like that informs our marketing strategy at the outset. But actually, when we think of buyer intelligence and all the conversations everyone in the business is having with customers, with buyers, and the insights you can get from that to power the entire team. What can customer success get out of sales conversations, or what can sales get out of customer success conversations? And you think of all this unstructured data that can then become structured through tools like Ask Elephant, like HubSpot.
Yeah.
Like the possibilities are then endless. And I'm even just thinking the marketing possibilities from like sales conversations. Wow, we've got a whole new level of attribution possible. We're talking here about I feel like I've jumped into the deep end here. This is really taking all unstructured data from the business, from sales calls, from customer success calls, from just information that's like just floating at the moment in God knows where, bringing that together in like unified systems to use it across everything. But in marketing, we can use that, for attribution from sales calls. If things are being, referenced that we don't have visibility of because of the, dark funnel and everything like that, it can provide insights into what content to create because of pain points that are being raised. And then you think of the sales opportunity from customer success conversations. If there are, product features that they're interested in, and then that might power product actually. And the possibilities of this growth engineering role to bring all of that together and marketing can be at the forefront of that is just like, so exciting.
So you mentioned Ask Elephant. It's a good example. There, even if we leave out the sales intelligence platforms and the like Clay and others, and intent-based signals and so on, you're in any business, certainly any B2B tech business, your existing customers are your most useful voice, both to what you're doing right and to what you're doing wrong, and to what your opportunities are in the future. And yet, how many times as a marketer inside of a company have you had to beg, borrow, and steal customer quotes or customer references because account management, that oftentimes never feels like the customer is quite happy enough to introduce marketing and be exposed.
Yeah.
Okay, well, with Ask Elephant.
So many, Josh.
Right?
So
Right.
many.
Right. It happens every day.
Yeah.
With Ask Elephant plugged into to HubSpot and into Slack, what we're doing right now
Yep.
is to be able to, we record every call, HubSpot captures every email, and with that bidirectional integration, we're able to then identify proactively and automatically when we have customers that say something that's quote worthy, and so automatically you can get a Slack message
notification, yeah.
that says, "Hey, customer XYZ just said this quote," and you can follow up with that customer. We could even go further than that if we wanted to, once we're really happy with it, and automate that bounce back to the customer and say, "Hey, would you mind if, you said this, would you mind if we use that in a case study or in a, on our website," right? And you can build that automation automatically. Similarly, but very differently, we also have the ability now to know when a customer says something that demonstrates that maybe they didn't get the best experience. And if they're feeling like they didn't get the best experience, I want an owner of our business to reach out to them. Say, "You know what? I understand that you're not real pleased with that. That's super hard when you have 60, 70, 80 clients. But now I can know immediately as soon as that happens." And it's not a negative on the account manager. We're a services business. I mean, there's always going to be, and it changes moment by moment sometimes, where we hit the ball out of the park. Oh, well, we didn't do quite as well on this one, right? Like that's where we deliver a service that's going to happen. But me being able to be ultra responsive to it, or Phil or Sean or our team, is going to create the trust with that customer that is going to make them a long-term customer. So, and that's just one example. Ask Elephant, and we are now a partner of theirs, and we're implementing them with other companies, and I just think, like, compared to where, this is what I was saying in the beginning, when historically we lacked the technology to do this well, and so while we knew what we wanted to do, we couldn't quite operationalize it. Now it's happening at light speed, and it's creating such momentum in our business, in our customers' businesses, and that's, I don't know. I mean, that excites me. I get jazzed.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like this episode's more morphing into how marketing can be the heroes of the organization, actually, because it's more than just sales.
Well, so that buyer intelligence core, marketing should be the ones that create it, because who else is going to do it? You're going to give it to sales? Well, they've got to be closing business today. They've got to be out meeting customers. They got to be traveling. You're going to give it to account management? No, they got to deliver to customers. Like, marketing is becoming the organization that needs to have the technical prowess, the systems prowess, the understanding of how to orchestrate, what to orchestrate, to be able to create that connective tissue. And if you can be a marketing leader that can do that, and a team that builds, if I was to take over an in-house marketing function now, my team structure would be radically different than it ever has been. Radically, and it would start probably with technical strength. And then certainly there's roles for the traditional, content creator and others. But, but yeah, I mean, it's really cool. The opportunity. I just want to see people like grab it.
Yeah, well, maybe we should dissect it a little bit further and like
Okay.
actually go into the how do you get there? Because we've
Yeah.
spoken, I feel like, we've gone around because we're so excited,
I
like,
know.
by this opportunity.
I get excited. Yeah.
I do too, right? And yeah, the opportunity of like Ask Elephant and implementing all these things in the business, it's all possible. Like the possibilities are all there, but actually, how do you, as a marketing leader, look at your business through a particular lens to actually get to the stage where you know what needs to be done? You might not necessarily need to even do that part or do the doing after it, but
Right.
what's the process you need to follow in order to understand all of this?
So I can think of it in a couple of different ways. I think of the way we deliver services today, which is assess, transform, and optimize. So assess is we come in and we assess the overall go-to-market model and the capabilities, and we have a structure for doing all of that. But it highlights where things work well today and where we have opportunities to improve. And then transform is a set of transformation projects that build, start to build stepwise. But if you weren't going to hire Blend to do that, then I think the way I would look at it is sort of a 4-phase. This is how you transform yourself from marketing to growth engineering, if I can say it that way.
Yeah, I like that.
Phase 1 is building the foundation. You have to get to where you have a data structure and a systems infrastructure that is connected, right? You cannot allow for there to be disconnection. You can't allow for there to be integration if there absolutely has to be. I still would argue that it's both more cost effective and much more reliable if you can build it on a single system. And I don't care if the sales team has been using Salesforce all their lives. It's not, we've already established the best salespeople don't use it anyway. So why would you hold yourself hostage to that, right? Go find the platform. Again, we think it's HubSpot, but go find the platform that is best suited to be that connective tissue, that hub for buyer intelligence. So you got to in that process, you conduct a go-to-market data audit. You look at what you have in data, what you don't have in data, where it sits, and then you start to build that plan for creating that foundation. Once you have that foundation in place, then you can start doing some automation. So phase 2 would be automation. What tasks are we doing manually today? Those might be writing email sequences, or there's various data entry that we should be able to automate. There's appointment scheduling that we should be able to automate, so that sales reps aren't going back and forth with how does 3 o'clock work on Tuesday? How does it, like back and forth and back and forth. Like, we should be able to make that a whole lot simpler. Lead scoring, as an example, right? That should be a very automated process that everybody understands and agrees on. Once we get some basic automation in place and it's working, and those two things I find often happen fairly simultaneously, but then we try to get to adding in intelligence. Intelligence might be intent data. It might be, like we were talking about Ask Elephant, using AI call analysis to improve the effectiveness of your people. So there's a bunch of different categories of intelligence that we would look at. Some of those might be customer insights. Some of those might be like sales, like surfacing the in-call, the right moves, right? So sales play surfacing. Those kinds of things where we're building that kind of intelligence. And then finally, phase 4, is the orchestration, where we are we move from enabling to actually doing. And now we're looking for the things that we can say, you know what, we have gained success in giving our salespeople these capabilities, or generating these types of reports or information for our customers or for our account management teams. But what work can we actually now do instead of proactively, instead of having them have to do it? And now we operate as a human in the loop, but not as a fully human work process. And there's lots and lots of examples of that. In fact, today our team is going through a hackathon
Next door.
right next, right next door. I got to go in a minute, and we're looking at creative ways to build orchestration into our business for the benefits of our customers, both in our service quality, our service efficacy, and then the efficiency that we are able to run the business into, so that we can provide the most aggressive, most effective value proposition to our clients that we can.
Yeah. It sounds like that process is actually one where if you try and skip ahead too fast, you might fall flat.
Yeah.
Because
you can't do that.
the foundations, like having your CRM in place before you then start to layer in intelligence software on that.
Right.
Like,
Please don't go buy
But
intent data without having.
but I guarantee that's already happened, right?
Yeah.
Businesses will have implemented things like Ask Elephant, like Zoom Info, like Clay, without actually having their CRM in place, like without having
Right.
marketing and sales data in the same system. And
Totally. Yep. That's a colossal mistake. It's driven by, people who don't understand the big picture and then get swayed by sales presentations and their buddy who says, "Oh, I just got this tool," and excited. And we're all guilty of that to some extent or another. But you're right. You have to do this in a steady hand process that builds upon itself.
all right, as we kind of, wrap up this episode, it'd be interesting to lean a bit more into like the business benefits of adopting this approach, because ultimately as marketers, as the growth engineer who's trying to orchestrate this and really go in and prove its value, understanding the benefits of the business is going to be crucial.
Yeah. So I think CEOs, CROs, boards of directors and let's define it, but I'm specifically speaking to companies that are anywhere from 15 million to 250, maybe even 500 million in revenue, and are typically B2B centric tech or service businesses. In those environments, creating a systematic revenue engine, which is what all of this is about. It's being able to, we started at the beginning, predictable, scalable growth, right? Being able to do that really transforms what most businesses experience today, which is lumpy growth, unpredictable growth, sometimes, failed expectations, oftentimes failed expectations at the board level, into environments where you can literally predict and know what levers to turn and how to turn them to be able to project out. And when you can do that and you can prove it with data, because you can, then when you go to exit that company, when there's a transaction, your shareholders will get 2 to 3 times more in valuation, because that future buyer has that much more confidence in the growth that you're projecting, than if you show that lumpiness and that lack of control. Your customer acquisition costs go down. You can optimize those. If we're doing this across the customer, you can see very easily that it turns into greater LTV. So your CAC to LTV ratio is way better. Again, drives better exits values, but it's also just way healthier for the business. Like maybe you're not trying to exit at all. maybe you're an owner of a company like that. Maybe it's a family business, but it's still way better for you to have a better CAC to LTV. We've seen this model be scalable. So what I like most about this philosophy or this strategy is that, you might be a $20 million company now and you use it to go to 40 million, right? You put these in place. It's the same approach that will get you to 100 million. It's just, that what plays you call as a result, to get to 100 million will be different, but the level of visibility and automation, this discipline of automation and orchestration in the business will continue to create continued growth. Like it's not a short-term solution; it's a long-term solution. It eliminates the marketing and sales silo and the internal finger pointing about who's at fault, because you're winning together, and it's creating a definition of winning together that allows you to put all of your energy into going forward and none of your energy into fighting political battles. That to me is by itself worth a tremendous amount. I just think in the end, with buyer intelligence at the core, you are mapping everything to your buyer behavior and to what they care about. And so you're becoming a much more customer-focused entity, customer, driven entity. And that's, in any company I've ever been in, that is core to creating sustainable growth. So I don't know that any of that is just on my soapbox now, but I think it has at a corporate strategy level, at a board strategy level, this is the only way that boards should think, in my opinion, in terms of how we're driving top line growth and how we're protecting our customer base.
Yeah. And, as we've mentioned throughout this podcast, like marketing is just in such a great position to affect all of that. And, this is a marketing podcast. And yeah, what I really like about having Josh on is the fact we dive into these higher level topics that enable you to think of the business as a whole. But this concept of revenue, of growth engineering, like is marketing, like of the future. Like that is where marketing is going. And if you can actually start to think about growth engineering in your business and becoming the growth engineer,
you are the growth architect. Yeah.
You are the architect of the business, and like marketing will be playing the most crucial role that the organization has.
Growth will be playing the most crucial role. I'm going to keep knocking down that silo, Dan.
Well, we'll be butting heads in that for a while. Do you know what? Like, I think it will happen, but it will just take time for, that terminology to shift over time. But yeah. Cool. Any closing thoughts?
This is, shameless plug. This is what we do all day, every day, and we love it. Hopefully people can see that we're passionate about it.
Yeah.
If there's anyone who just wants to talk about it, listeners who are like, man, where do I start? We'd love to have those conversations. You don't have to work with Blend. They're fun conversations, and we want to see more companies moving in this direction, because it makes everybody. I want to see people win. I want to see people be successful.
Yeah, like there are some really exciting things happening at Blend at the moment that you won't see from an outside perspective, but yeah, in the next couple of quarters, you're going to see some pretty amazing things and case studies and visions for how this all looks and comes together in reality. And it's really, really exciting. And yeah, if you want to get ahead of the curve and, see some of the stuff we've been doing and the results it's been having, like, Josh is your man.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's wrap it up there. Amazing to have you in the studio, Josh. We need to do it more often. just fly you out for the sake of doing a podcast. Why not?
I'll be back in December. We'll do it
Yeah,
again.
all right. We'll do a few maybe when you're back in December.
That sounds good.
Yeah, it's really good. All right, cool. Let's wrap it up there. And yeah, if you like this episode, do all the usual things, like, subscribe, all of that stuff, and we will catch you in the next one. Thanks for listening.
This episode of Demand Decoded was brought to you by Blend. We help B2B technology companies grow through strategic, creative, and technical expertise, bringing you the capabilities you need to drive demand and turn it into real revenue impact for your business. If you enjoyed this episode, follow Demand Decoded on your favorite podcast platform, leave us a quick review, and we'll see you next time with more insight to help you grow.